Tonight, AT&T is investigating how the personal data of more than 70 million of its current and former customers, that's 1 in 4 U.S. adults, ended up on the dark web. Now, the company says that includes personal information like social security numbers, names, and mailing addresses. So joining us now to discuss is Glenn Gerstel, former general counsel at the National Security Agency and now senior advisor for the Center for Strategic and International Studies. All right, Glenn, good to see you. I just want to start with the obvious here. More than 70 million people. How concerned should they actually be here?
Absolutely should be concerned. This is a very significant hack. As you said, it involves over 70 million people. This is the nation's largest cellular carrier. And the kind of information that was made available about 2 weeks ago on the dark web was really serious. It was the names, addresses, phone numbers, emails, social security information, and even date of birth for many of their AT&T customers. So that's really serious because once a bad guy has that, a criminal has that information, perhaps they could pose as you and call up one of your bank accounts or health accounts, claim you lost your password, and you reset it by validating their identity using the stolen social security number or birth date or whatever. So this is quite a serious issue.
Yeah, a lot of that is definitely verification level data as opposed to just a password that you might get,
Exactly.
which, again, we've got those two-step verifications for a reason. Now, look, telecom companies have been hacked before. Is there something that makes them especially good targets here? Is it just the range of data that they operate with?
Exactly. It's like that old saying when the bank robber was asked, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. So any hacker who is both skilled enough and lucky enough to get inside a telecom company is going to find a digital treasure chest. The information that's available there will be large in numbers. These telecom companies handle tens of millions of people. When T-Mobile was hacked last year, they had a data breach affecting tens of millions of their customers. And the information is, of course, quite significant. As we've said, it's all the kind of information used to verify your identity. Now, many of these companies, to be sure, don't necessarily have lax security practices. AT&T, in this particular case, I think this is important to say, hasn't said whether the data, which they admit is AT&T customer data, came from AT&T itself or whether it came from one of their vendors. And that, of course, would be also of concern.
And look, you touched on it here because I think it's really important that all of these telecom companies, or at least a company at this scale, their defenses around this have to be essentially impeccable in a race where there are folks who are constantly trying to break their defenses, and they go back and forth until the end of time. How delicate is that race, is that balance for a company like AT&T? I guess my question is, what is the magnitude of work that needs to be done to actually prevent something like this from happening?
Well, that, of course, is the question. I mean, there's some good news and bad news there. I mean, the reality is that for the past, decade or two, we've been racing to put all of our lives in digital form. So it's all up in there in the cloud or it's on a company's computers. And there's tremendous benefits to be gained from having all that information be digitally accessible on our cell phones or laptops. But the consequence is that we haven't paid enough attention over the past decade or two to the vulnerabilities and risks that are created both by cyber criminals, teenage hackers, as well as nation states like Iran, China, North Korea, Russia, who are out to get this kind of information on Americans. Ultimately, we're going to have to move past passwords. We're going to have to move toward greater use of two-factor authentication, possibly some biometric identifications, and get to a system that's much, much more secure, both for the individual user and the companies themselves. But that's expensive, and that's a long way off.
Yeah, and quickly before we go, if AT&T has notified you that your information has been compromised, I mean, what is the first thing that you should be doing here?
So just because if you are notified, that is one key issue. If you're not notified, just don't assume automatically that you're safe. You need to investigate this. But if you are notified, the first thing I would do is change my passwords for any really serious, important financial account or health account. If I had a couple of credit cards or bank accounts, or health account that had especially sensitive information, or where a criminal could do mischief if they got into my account, I'd change the password. It costs you nothing. There's no downside. It's a little bit of annoyance. The second thing I'd probably do is consider contacting the 3 credit report agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. This is all available on the web for customers, and ask to put a fraud alert on your account, and possibly AT&T will assist you with that. It's not at all clear yet exactly what they're going to do in that regard, but you can put a fraud alert, give that to the credit information. You can get a copy of your credit report once a year. And if you're really concerned, you can put a credit freeze on your account, which will prevent someone from opening up a credit card using your stolen Social Security number and birth date. That's a little more complicated, but there are steps you can take, and I'd pay attention to the respectable news media and find out what are the right solutions to be taking.
Yeah. Well, Glenn Gerstel, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time and perspective.